Higgs won the Solo Cash Cup Finals, Solo Series Finals, whatever it's called. $10,000 for this win. And he played incredibly with some really interesting strategies in there. So I want to break it down in this video. So Higgs is landing at Cartman Land, and there's not that many people contesting him here. Only his teammate, Clicks. Now, honestly, one of the most important parts about solos is just having a good off spawn. Having only you and your teammate land at the drop spot, you know, obviously that's a massive advantage off the rip, because in this game they don't shoot each other once. I can't speak across all 12 games, but they're obviously not going to grief each other. They're not going to fight each other, and they're not going to into it. So off the rip, you've got a huge advantage over a lot of the other players who are like kind of scuffed, like what's going on down in lethal. You know, you've got 4 people landing here, you got these 2 fighting each other, you got these 2 fighting each other. I'm sure there's other people splitting. I don't know what is going on down in Boulevard. There's so many kids in so many different places. So off the rip, you're not gonna have someone lurking on you, sneaking, like trying to get a bunch of tags on you. And obviously, because Surge is now at net damage, you don't want to take any damage. That is a massive advantage. Obviously, that doesn't mean that he's just won because he's playing this teammate landing at the same drop spot. If that was the case, obviously Clicks would also have done way better. He ended up 23rd. So it's not necessarily just that they're landing at the same drop spot as well, but it's just important to mention. So unsurprisingly, one of the main features of Cartman Land is the mini game where you're able to get a bunch more of the loot from here. So he has kind of like set up, protected himself away from Clicks to make sure Clicks doesn't third party it coming through. He's also using his shotgun to conserve ammo. So he's picked up a Sovereign shotgun there because it can hit both the targets at the same time, but also it's not wasting AR. I mean, you're barely really wasting any AR ammo if you shoot it with like, you know, one of the, like a single shot at a time. But those shots do add up, of course, but this is still a quick way to finish it. He's already finished this once, and he has the Chug Jug because of that. Now he's going back to do it again. I actually don't know. Is this 100% spawn rate for a Chug Jug from here? I could be wrong. I think it is. I don't actually know. I've not done the loot, and I don't think Assyrian has this part updated to see. Either way, he gets a second Chug Jug because of this, and you'll see what he ends up doing with this layer. He's also got the single slurp, which he'll go and purchase more because, as you notice in his gold, it currently says infinite. That just means it has more than 1,000. So replay doesn't show the gold if it's more than 1,000. It just puts infinite for some reason, which is always very, very funny to me. With that infinite gold, he runs all the way over to the vending machine, which is here, which has obviously already been boxed up, and buys 2 more slurps. So he's now got a chug and 3 slurps, and these are the key to the success for his strategy here. Now, I also like what he does with the second chug jug that he has, because of course he intentionally went and got one of those too. You see, he's grabbed it. Now he looks out, throws it, and it's gone. Picks up the other one, so he's starting to juggle his heals here. Funny is, this is actually counterable strat. Like, if you're Clicks and you'd VOD reviewed him and you see he's landing next to you, you know how to counter this. You see him throw the chug jug, you know where you're going. I also know if he does this every game. We'll watch another game after this. I'd like to see if this is like the exact same strat he does in every match. But this is because the zone's pulled close. So he's thrown it to this area, and now you'll see that he'll throw the chug jug yet again. Now he's got the chug jug, and he chucks it into this bush. Threw down these crash pads a second ago. He's thrown one. You can see the chug jug still there. I think he actually drops it into the bush. He did. I thought he had a better throw than that, I will be honest. Struck down 2 crash pads. Now he's throwing the other one, and he's going to go up onto this hill. Now remember, at this point, he's actually taken 0 damage. So because Storm Surge is net damage, as I mentioned earlier, he's basically minimizing the amount of damage he's taken. Now this zone is very favorable for him. Being at Cartman Land and having a kind of northern zone in this area is extremely beneficial since he's on this hill. Beersley has had to rotate. If he had to go, you know, like all the way down to the southeast, of course, this would not be as easy, and we'll see potentially one of the games he plays later to see how he plays his zone like that. But for right now, he gets to sit up on this hill and do absolutely nothing. Now, the way that he ends up boxing is very nice. Obviously got a normal tower, but the goal, like I mentioned, is not to take damage. So he's not going to try and spray when he sees someone to get like 100. He's going to take the safest peek possible and go for a single shot like this, 18. You'll notice the peak that he's doing from here, which is the cone hold. This is the way to get the best vision when you're actually up quite high. You notice he's not really looking towards the lobby. He's just kind of looking in this one direction towards Cartman Land, which is probably just going to be farming on Clicks. It's actually, let's see if he's actually still around. Is he still kicking about the area? There's not actually really that many people there. The only person here is Clicks that's inside. There's Doxy, Tanya, and Chris. There's a few people over in this area already, but there's not really that many people to farm for Surge. But it doesn't necessarily matter that much because, again, he's not taking any damage, so he's not below at this point. Well, basically, he's dealt 18 damage, which means that he's plus 18 right now, which is way more Surge than you actually need for the early zones. As you can see, it's popped up and he's 144 above. He took 18 damage back in return, so now he's straight on 0. 19, so he's actually at -1, but he's still 150 above because there's other people in the lobby who've taken way more damage than that already. Anyway, I'm not actually going to talk too much about Surge in this game, mainly in this video at all, because I'm going to do a full video on it on my main channel, where I'm going to go way more in depth. But just so you know, if you want to know what a Surge strategy is, it's basically try to minimize damage as much as possible, just going for super safe little tags. And because so many players play the Storm, it's actually not a bad idea to stay in this area and wait for people to rotate past. He is shooting at someone here, but that window is edited, but it's just bugged right now, as you can see. He did also, unsurprisingly, pull a nice favorable 5th zone too. So the zone is pulled very close to his location here, and he has already used a little bit of that chug. So basically, he's using that chug jug that he has here just to continue like heal up his white health over and over again to play the Storm. One chug jug basically gives him 100 seconds of being in the Storm in this current 2-tick. So it's plenty to keep him going almost until the 6th zone pops. So just as that 6th chug jug is about to finish up here, as you notice, he's going to jump straight out the box, start rotating back down. He's scouted this whole area during this full time here, so he's fairly certain he can rotate in. I think that's clicks flying past over the sky. Yeah. Gets a big beam. Nice damage. What, 60, 75 damage or something like that? No key, of course, because, you know, you wouldn't key in solos. That's not how that works. You'd also definitely run the other way. You wouldn't go towards your teammate. However, he also finds a medkit in a second. I think this is quite just a lucky find with the medkit here. The chug jug itself would be, obviously, you'd have to use like 60 or something like that here, if not. But the zone's pulled open to him. He has a medkit, healed up. Now his inventory's absolutely stacked, and he's above surge. More importantly, the zone pool, gosh, right on him almost. It's not exactly right on him, but it's very, very close. It's barely any distance to rotate. So when zone pops, he just slides in, builds a box, one tile up. Very importantly, the way he actually does this, not just staying on a bummy low layer, he places a ramp, 2 builds, so he's connected by 3 spots and then goes up. This is like one of the most material efficient ways you can actually just go up a layer where people won't just look at it and spray you out. And again, almost every time he peeks, he's just looking through a window. He actually got that elim there, but for some reason, replay mode since the latest update isn't showing eliminations pop up at the bottom of the screen. Eliminations seem to be just bugged in every single game mode, so unfortunately, that's not going to show up. I will mention it anytime it happens. I may miss a few of them though. You can kind of see the peaks he's doing. He's just looking through the cone through a window that's already there. Something that's super safe. Again, he is still just trying to minimize damage as much as possible. Minimize damage taken, I mean, obviously. What a surprise. Another lucky zone pool. So zones have been unbelievably favorable for him here. He is there. And you'll remember, he has an old base sitting in here too. At this point, he's only dealt around like 150 damage and he's taken 19 damage, I think, from memory. I can't remember if he took another one, so easily above the threshold. Maybe he has taken more damage than that. I don't think he has. All right, so see the guy going in front of him, so he just chases after him and just ramps all the way back up to his old box. Now he doesn't have to move. Same thing, you see a bunch of players using the thingy to rotate, so it should be some easy tags, again, as long as he doesn't get hit himself. Unfortunately, clicks goes down behind him there. I'm not really sure how. So here's the tricky part. How do you rotate the first moving zone? Pulls far. Well, it's not far, but pulls down here. It's the first moving zone, is what it is. He's only 71 above, so if he gets beamed, he could easily be below the thresholds on this rotate. So he has to be very, very careful of this here. Again, minimizing damage, as I mentioned about 10 times. If he just uses his wingsuit up into the sky, he's going to be the same as everyone else. If he rotates by foot down on the floor, well, he could get sprayed and again get cracked for 100, maybe even lose the match. Well, this is where the 3 slurps come in. You can see everyone else start to rotate up, but he's still scouting through his cone. And the reason for that is because he wants to be the last to rotate. Now, if you watch my video on Queasy and Veno's strategy all the way back from chapter 4, season 2, where they use the kinetic blades into the sky, the entire strategy was about being last into the air. So here he's popped the slurp, as you can see. Now, if I scroll out for a second, you'll see he's the one right at the back here, right? He is the last one to rotate out of, well, G-Money's still there, out of pretty much anyone. He's now going to use the wingsuit. So as all of these people have flown up, there'll be someone in the sky here probably looking up. Oh, they could potentially be, you know, who is up here? What is going on? Reciprocal's just mad sky base up there. Okay. Then Higgs can use his and fly through the sky. Now, because he's last to rotate, that means everyone below him is going to land first. He's also like doing a little circle here. Might be potentially different because there's going to be some people staying way up. Doesn't stay up too long. So that gives him a safe spot to land. So because he basically stayed up for way longer than a lot of other people and it basically meant that not everyone's just going to land straight on his head. Badly explained by me. If you just go at the same time as everyone else, there's a high likelihood those players are just going to land straight on your head. So he went up, did a single circle, and then came back down using the slurp to do so. So next rotate. Let's see how he takes it. Is he going to do the slurp again? Yep. No, he actually cancelled that slurp this time. So he actually accidentally cancelled the slurp. He meant to pop it, but started sprinting. But does the same thing. Takes his time to go into the backside of the storm and then uses the wingsuit. So he's going to be last out into the sky, which gives him a safe landing spot because no one is landing on his head. Then rather than using another slurp juice there, he ended up using the chug jug to heal himself up instead. Importantly, he's also not right at the edge of zone, so he actually makes sure he rotates a lot deeper in. Notice this little mark here is him here. He's not stayed at this point. He rotated in and then kept getting slightly deeper here, which keeps him away from all of the congestion. If we sit and play and then speed this up for a second, just before that next zone pops, he is still in amongst all of this, which is rough, but he's not at the back side of the zone where all of these other players are going to be. So if he needs to rotate this way, for example, he can stagger and then use the wingsuit again, play the slurp if he needs to. Let's see what the zone ends up doing here. So it keeps pulling far, and you can see he now is stuck at the backside, but that's because he's doing the same strategy again, right? He's going to use the slurp juice again here. Now he's got a free space just to run in. He's not going to actually end up using the wingsuit this time, but he can come from behind, and look how like little materials he ended up using on that one like half of zone rotate, because he just popped the slurp at the backside, sprint jumped, and he was totally fine. Then he spends a little time, gets knocked in the box, unfortunately managed to get out, and then he doesn't wait until the last second. He just goes, he just sprints, he sees an opportunity and he goes. Unfortunately, he doesn't land back and knocks his box, but he is able to get the elim and a nice little material refresh. Oh, and the mythic pump too there. Again, he's not waiting for zone to catch up and be all the way right at the back. He's just waiting for the zone to move a little bit, seeing an opportunity, and then going. That's another really nice elim there onto scroll as well, so gets the materials refreshed yet again. Not a huge amount because scroll didn't have much. Now he's playing from backside again. He's in a rough position, so now you can see because he's in a rough position, it's time to use a little materials. People could hit him with a pump, hit him with a bang, so he just tarps instead. Frank Castle, Punisher dead on backside too. Doesn't greed the mats yet because he doesn't see if anyone's going for it. And I think this is time, yep, to play the last slurp now. He can run back in, grab those materials, and then yet again, do a free sprint from the zone. I love this little sprint slide he did down the ramp there too. Now he's claimed front side. So every single time he uses one of those slurps, it's either for the first rotate, which was to use the wingsuit to be last in the sky, or the other two, which meant that he could just sprint from the back and save so many materials, right? No one's going to spray you if you're way deep into storm and just using, you know, a couple builds to get yourself through that, you know, half of the zone rotate. Very, very nice. Toe shot. Nice, okay. I love the way that he rotated this too. As he dropped down there, when he started to create just this little box, he's doing it right on the edge of zone. So it's also on the right side. So if I zoom out from here, for example, you can see you got Doxy on height, you've got Vert on bottom, and you got Chris at the backside too. And he's on the far right. So obviously all of this congestion's over here, and he's just flowing over this way. Now, the only problem with this is that the height guy can spray you, and you can see that he does end up focusing him here. But you'll see why it's so good. In particular, when you're on the right side, like we talk about this a lot with height, right? Say if you're on the height, that's actually a problem he's making, right? But if you're on the right side of height here, you have good right-hand peaks onto the players down below. But if you're also on low ground at the right-hand side, you'll see that the angles that Higgs has is also very, very nice. So he replaces this tree, this little refarm here. He's away from the congestion, and he sprint slides. So you can see he does this sprint slide just to place a wall and a cone. But because of this, he's sprint sliding on a right-hand peak round this side. And then as he drops down, he's oh my God, what have I just said? He's easily able to spot Chris and get a pump off. Now, unfortunately, apparently Chris's ping is insane. Doesn't get the wall replaced twice there, or the cone replaced twice. But Chris does die, and now it's down to a 1v1. So he starts to run low on mats. He has 0 left to his name, refarms 2, and then he has the Chug Jug still. So obviously it's a 1v1, so, you know, zone's not closing for another 45 seconds. He's not playing heal off here, but he's playing the Chug Jug, trying to get used, trying to get his healed up, and then he does the same thing. Notice how he sprinted around the right. Obviously this tree was there. He sprinted around the right, placed this, yet again, a wall, and then a cone, and then as he's appearing around the corner here, he has a great right-hand peek onto Doxy there. And then look at from Doxy's POV. Bad. From Higgs, bang! Right-hand peek, absolutely clinical. Beautiful win. Obviously, there was a lot of like good zones that he pulled earlier on, but that end game was actually played so unbelievably nice. I'm just checking his other win here from on Assyrian, just so that I don't have to go into replay just to make things much easier. You can see that he does the exact same strategy. So this zone, the other game that he won, unsurprisingly also very, very good zones for him too. So, you know, zones pulled very close to Cartman Land where he drops. Clicks was attempting the same strat this game as well, but he did not get the Chug Jugs this game. So slightly different. So to confirm, that's not a 100% chug spawn rate from the whatever you call it's from the mini game in here. So, and instead of playing onto this hill where Vertaki was here, he just built up on this building here right at the front side of Cartman Land. But even just looking at the inventory, you can see he just did the same strat pretty much, where he was using the slurp juices just to stay into storm. Actually, maybe I'll check that in game. So yeah, rather than going onto the hill, which is over there, which I think Void ended up taking, as I mentioned, he just built the small little tower here on top of Cartman. An important difference this game is the 3 medkits that he has in his inventory whilst, well, instead of the Chug Jug. You can see instead of throwing the chug, he's throwing the medkits into that building, which he will then later keep in that surge tower that he built there. As you can see, here he is wearing a very assy skin. And then here's all of the heals that he'll use later on to play the zone. First medkit popped at 50, which gives me the impression that he may be leaving here earlier. I guess he doesn't really need to play the whole zone out by any means. It's still a 2-tick, so he's going to rack up a lot of storm damage here. And because he plays storm a lot in endgame, he doesn't want to take too much damage at this point in the match, I would imagine, because dying of sickness is probably not ideal. The way he's timed his wingsuit should be good enough to show him where the next zone pops, but I think it's a little too risky to stay up. Straight into a bush, which is so nice, actually. And then does he pull that other zone right next to him again? Yeah, he basically pulled the zone, which he is already inside of. So the 2 wins that he's had have been very, very favorable zones. But the point I'm trying to make about these is that you have to actually set up a good strategy and plan so that you can take advantage of the zone pulls that you get, because a lot of players will pull zones on them and then still do awful in those matches. All right, this time he's going to use it for the 7th zone. So that's a max distance 7th zone rotate. He's already got the slurp popped. Now he's basically being last to go. This is slightly different this time though, because rather than tanking the storm, he's just popped it before he goes, which means that if he gets shot in the sky, he'll already be healing straight away. Now we've got the 8th zone. There's a bunch of people stacked on top of him. This was the last game, the one game that we watched where he won. This was the time in which he used the first slurp. So I would imagine he's going to do the exact same thing here, was tank some storm with the slurp, use it last. And I actually want to see like how high he stays up and how close people are to landing on him this time. So he does not opt to use the slurp this time. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure why. Big map knowledge this is. Landing on a tree. So I'm sure most people know this at this point, but in these trees, you can actually connect builds to them for some reason. I don't entirely know why you can build on these. So you can see he just landed on it right there and started building. There's also a Reciprocal, who was skybasing in the previous game, did the exact same thing. Big baller knowledge to just... Big tree knowledge to know that you can actually build on those. And then he's going to chop it out, which also seems very interesting. I know a lot of people have connected to him at this point, but that would be fun if he accidentally chopped out like half the lobby. So I was thinking over why he might not want to use the slurp in this situation when he used it in the previous one. I have a couple of theories. It depends, but I think maybe just the trees in general. This area, this whole kind of corner of the map, what, from here to here, where it's all of these big massive trees, you're usually okay flying through the sky in these because it's just very hard to hit you. You can usually like duck and dip around them. Secondly, because he was landing like high on the tree, so if we go outside, obviously there's a lot of people flying up at the same time here. Because he was flying straight into the tree here, he doesn't really have a risk of anyone landing on his head. He can just kind of land off. It's like he's just hovering. Where did he end up going? Oh, he ended up going all the way down there. Did he fall? I thought he bounced off of it. Did he bounce off of that? I thought he landed up there to connect onto the tree. Is that what Reciprocal did? Hold on. All right, so Reciprocal did. Okay, so he actually just landed straight up there. I think what Higgs tried to do was bounce off of it and then build like to connect himself maybe lower onto the tree. Maybe he was just bouncing off that to get himself out of the wingsuit as quick as possible. I don't know, but he did end up falling and ended up connecting down here though. So yeah, my theory why I don't think he used the slurp was potentially just because you don't really need to. There's a less chance you getting beamed through the sky. You got the trees in the way. You're gonna not a high likelihood that someone's gonna land on your head anyway. So I think he's fine. Now for the 9th zone, that's the first time he uses it here. So he ends up popping a slurp just before then, running out the backside of Storm, and then flying straight down. Most people aren't even going to use their like wingsuit at this rotate anymore. A lot of players are only really using it in the first moving, and then after that it's kind of tough. So he's managed to get a completely free rotate. I think that's about half of the 9th zone, which was kind of similar to the previous game that we watched as well. Now the zone's catching up. He's going to do probably the exact same thing. Last time, if I was to guess, he's not going to use his wingsuit again. He's probably just going to sprint in from Storm. Nope, maybe he's just using it because he's got low whites. All right, so now he's just using mats, getting up a layer, elevating as much as he can to get away from people. Nice clean layer now. I love that. Pop the slurp in case he got tagged on the rotate and just legged it up layers to try get away from all the congestion down below. So now he should have freer rotates if the zone ends up pulling, so he can kind of just sprint, jump, and use minimal materials. If you're on those lower layers, it's really tough. You kind of have to just like full tarp your way through. Notice here, zone, I mean, it's basically couldn't be more on him. And he only has 11 builds. So I love the fact that he actually just intentionally tanks a bunch of storm here. So he sits and waits in the backside of zone, because if he just tried to stay in storm here, he's just dead. Then he just sprint, jumps up. He gets blocked, sure. Sprint, jumps, slides, drops to low, creates a single box. So he basically just made like, how far was that rotate in tiles? That rotate was like, I don't know, 10 tiles or something like that. It was from deep back here, and he ended up chopping through, sprint jumping over, and then getting to here. And he only ended up using like, well, he had 10 builds. So he had 10 builds, he used 6 builds, and sure, he had to sacrifice like 78 white HP in order to actually make that rotate. Like, you're just dead in any other situation. And now he's got enough to work with to try and go for a refresh, at least. Somehow he's claimed height. He's jumped off. Big shot into bolts. Chops him out too. Doesn't manage to get the connect. Can't take any more storm at this point. Just going for the mantle, knowing that bolts is weak. Trying to pickaxe in the top. Don't know why bolts didn't recognize that. I don't know what he's doing. Now he's on height. Nice. Gets a couple cracks down below. Big overcommit, but that's good. Now he's got enough mats to win the game at least. 90's up. If you can get to the right side, there's some good peaks. 1v1v1, Jojo and Storm Neo there. Big pop. He's got the time. You can't let one of the other players get the siphon mats from down below, but Zone pulls back, I think. Can't tell from this angle. Hard to tell. Always hard in replay mode to know. Alright, so Neo gets the Elim. He had 0 Elims, 0 materials before that. So basically, Neo's got siphon on low ground. And Higgs has 5 builds. Love the right hands he's playing. Pickaxe is in, hears them obviously healing, doesn't get it. Has 2 of his builds gone. Chases, good shot into the back. Jumps up on height. Last build, mantles over. Beautiful edit. Doesn't get it. Tries to chop, but ends up not. 2 builds left. I don't think he knows it. He does know, okay. Playing like you have no builds when you actually have 1 or 2 actually just makes the other person make the worst plays, I swear. I don't think that's what he was trying to do there, but somehow he's got the pistol. Still 1 build, that's the code. Ooh. That pistol pickup ended up actually winning. Okay, very nicely played. Very nicely played. His third best game, he came second with 6. It was also another favorable zone. I will be honest. All 3 of his best games were pretty good for his strat. It's not, I mean, it's not amazing. It's not the furthest. It's not like it's like a super southeast zone by any means. But, you know, being up in Cartman Land and then having a zone pool here, it's you know, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Another thing I must add is just because the zones were there doesn't mean he automatically did well. This is a game where he placed 16th, and the zones, this is, I mean, it's probably one of the best zones you get. I was out of pulling up this stinking hill and having him down here in this awful spot. He came 16th in this game, so I'm not just saying zones carried him by any means. But yeah, slurp juices, very nicely used in the end game. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe, do all that other stuff as well. Peace.